What is going on, my Jets family? I want to thank you guys, like always, for tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. You're with me, Harrison Glazer. I appreciate you guys being here, taking time on your Monday afternoons to tune in with me to talk about them Jets. Now, today's conversation, I got a good one for you guys. A stigma, if you will, because as I've pointed out on Twitter, many people have, talked about Tyler Linderbaum and the amazing potential that this kid is, the unbelievable play we see from him, regardless of where he's lining up on the offensive line, honestly. The man is a damn beast. He bowls people over. He puts big men down. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you my quote on how I feel about him. But the big stigma around the league has always been for a while now, where to take a center. Where do you take a center? Should centers go high? Should centers not go high? That is a really good question. So to jump in today, I am going to be referencing Daniel Jeremiah's mock as well as a couple of other mocks while we talk about this. And in Daniel Jeremiah's first mock, he didn't have Kayvon Thibodeaux as the number one pick. In fact, he had an offensive tackle, Evan Neal, as the number one pick. So we have to really ask ourselves a question here. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, so tackles can go as high as 1. They can be the first overall consensus pick. And guards can go as high as 6. I mean, Quentin Nelson, who's the man I'm going to compare Tyler Linderbaum to, by the way, was a 6th overall pick. They can go 6. They can go 7. If we were talking last year about AVT trading up to 10, people would say, yeah, that makes sense. It's AVT. But when you get rid of the guard and you erase the little line in the middle and you make it a C, everyone's like, wait a minute, no, you can't do that. You can't take a center that high. So why not centers? And that's the conversation for today. Why not centers? So to start off, I know tackles can go as high as 1. I want to make it clear that I'm not saying I don't understand the difference. I do get that the edge rusher has evolved into the most dangerous pass rush weapon in this league. We have great interior defensive linemen, but the edge rusher is where it's at. People, again, draft high to find that Khalil Mack, to find that Myles Garrett. So I get that the offensive tackle has evolved into a massively valuable position. But how can you justify a guard going as high as 6 or 7 and then turning around and saying, well, a center can't go that high? That doesn't make sense. A center can't go that high. That just seems crazy to me. And as we know, and I was going to bring up, appreciate all you guys here. I see a lot of people. Appreciate all you guys. By the way, if you can please subscribe to the channel. You can do so by clicking on the logo in the bottom right corner. That'd be much, much appreciated. You could please subscribe. But talking again about this evolution at this position. So obviously the offensive tackle has evolved into something special, something necessary. We see them go 1, 2, 3. No one questions that. No one questions Evan Neal first in the draft. No one questioned that. It wasn't even an argument that, wait, it's not a quarterback. Wait, it's not Thibodeaux. I don't understand. No, we get it. Evan Neal is a great talent. Okay. But we look at these offensive guards and the interior of the line. How do you argue a guard is more important than a center? If anything, the center has more responsibility, more control over that offensive line. It's crazy to me. So we're going to get into, the how centers have been drafted. But a few things I do want to point out as we go through is we mentioned before that Quentin Nelson was the 6th overall pick in the draft he was taken. And AVT was projected to potentially go as high as 10. Now, I've been on the record for saying this, and this is my quote. You can quote it right to me. I have not seen an offensive lineman, tackle period. I haven't seen an offensive lineman as physically dominant, a man that can just plow through 320-pound plus defensive linemen that just puts them down, like not even just pound for pound, just literally manhandles them as if they were a linebacker. It's crazy. I haven't seen that since Quentin Nelson. And you guys remember that was the talk about him, that Nelson was a manhandler. This man just put people down. Well, Linderbaum is the same way. In fact, I put that video out on Twitter where you guys saw him beating all-pro right tackle Tristan Wirfs in a wrestling match, pinning the dude. And we all know Wirfs is tough as hell. I mean, it's just crazy to think about this. So the question again comes back to, why don't centers go high? Why don't they? So we look at centers in drafts, and I brought up a bunch of statistics to show you guys. So over the last 20 drafts, 10 centers have only been selected in the first round. And the highest ever taken was Damian Woody with the 17th overall pick by the Patriots back in 1999, which was a long time ago. Out of those other 9 centers, they went between 18 and 31. It says here the average pick was about 23. And examples they give of as the best offensive centers. Travis Frederick was the 31st overall pick. Mangold was the 29th overall pick. Alex Mack was the 21st. Ryan Kelly was an 18th. And the list just goes on. And it leads me to this point where, again, I'm not saying, and I think you guys are getting this, I'm not saying that my argument is the norm. It's not. My argument here is the opposite of the norm. But I come to this. The evolution of the NFL. The evolution of the NFL draft. We have seen our league go through a myriad of changes. Forget the decades, literally over the century, literally. We've watched the NFL go through changes. Before, for shout out to all those people, out there who know the older football, before Johnny Unitas, the modern quarterback position didn't even exist. He created that position. You guys remember years ago, the running back was what was valued. Running backs went high in the draft. Now we're at the point where we get a guy like Saquon Barkley, who literally, again, obviously we know what he is now, but going back in college, not injuries and stuff, he was like the most physical specimen you'd seen in like forever. Like he beat everyone in everything at every position. And people were still like, how can you take him at 3? Like, that's so crazy. The evolution of our league. We're in a pass-heavy league. That's what this league has evolved to. Same thing with wide receivers. Wide receivers never used to go as high as they did. All the NFL fans know, going back to the 60s, the 70s, a couple of wide receivers went high, but it wasn't like it was now. It wasn't this league. This is a pass-heavy league. And if you're pass-heavy, don't you have to protect your freaking quarterback? Don't you have to keep him upright? Now, I come back to what's crazy to me, what I don't get is we all know, and we've talked about it, the center is arguably the most important position on that offensive line, like even arguably more so than those tackles. So yes, the edge rushers are infinitely better now and they have to protect more. But let's go back to example Creed Humphrey, who we talked about last year. It was those cerebral abilities that set him apart. Now, my biggest thing, and I've talked about it before, with Linderbaum, I've looked it up and I've mentioned it to you guys before. What made Creed so special was that those were rare. We talked about that. Only a handful of guys in the NFL actually had that ability. Mangold was one of them. From what I see, I don't believe Linderbaum is. That is the truth of it. He may be, I could be wrong. I don't see it. But when it comes to being a dominant offensive lineman, when it comes to physicality, Linderbaum blows Humphrey away. Like Humphrey, again, is that cerebral smart center. Linderbaum is like, I think I made the joke before. You remember that guy in the commercial for I think it was Planet Fitness, where he's like, I pick things up, I put things down. Like that's Linderbaum. Like that dude just physically mauls people. The best example, again, I can think of is you guys remember how special Quentin Nelson was. I haven't seen somebody like that since him. If you remember, I compared AVT's potential to Quentin Nelson, but not play. Never play. It was always potential. I'm comparing play. That's what needs to be specified here. With AVT, we talked about potential. I'm comparing play. I'm comparing the way Quentin Nelson plays to the way Tyler Linderbaum plays. So if we take that and we say, oh, Tyler Linderbaum's going to play offensive guard, everyone's like, take him at 6. Take him at 7. Take him at 8. But the second we say he's a center, they're like, oh my God, if you take him at 10, it's insane. So that comes again to my evolution of the NFL. My honest take on it, and I was going to, come back to it, but I'm going to jump to it right now, is because of all that, it would be better to have a trade back. It would be better ideally to have a trade back because, again, like we talked about with the centers, they don't go that high. They tend to go later. So please, again, I'm not saying, that what's a good way to specify it? I'm not saying they should necessarily take him at 10 if they don't believe like someone's going to take him at 11 or 12. But my point is, if they do take him at 10, it's not crazy. That's the kind of point I'm trying to make here. That, yes, if we can get a trade back, awesome. And I pointed out, you guys know I believe in Joe Douglas. For the first time in Oh, I don't even know. I believe ever, really. As we talked about, I believe in the system. I believe in what Joe Douglas is doing. If he feels he can trade back and get him, like he did, again, Mims didn't pan out, but like he did with Mims, awesome. If he can trade back and get picks and still get Linderbaum, sign me up. But if he feels like he has to take him at 10 because he doesn't want to miss out on him, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. That's what I'm saying here. That's my message here. So therefore, though a trade back would be ideal, in no way is taking Tyler Linderbaum at 10 insane. It is a new precedent. I do state that. I'm not crazy. It is a new precedent, but like we just talked about the evolution of the league, it has to start somewhere, right? We've seen the league consistently change to, like we said, a pass heavy league. The edge rusher is infinitely, I would say, early mid 90s. If you guys want me fact check, I'd say early mid 90s is when we saw the edge rusher start to evolve into something special. Really, like right before John Abraham is probably a good way to put it. Like that's when we saw the edge rusher start to become something special. The league changes, it evolves. It's again, you guys, you see it, like we just talked about with the centers, they go later. But it's just crazy to me that you can say this guy like Tyler Linderbaum has the physical ability of Nelson to dominate men. And if you move him to guard, you're like, okay, cool, take him in the top 10. That's awesome. But if he's playing center, he shouldn't be. It's crazy to me. So the reason it's such an important position as well, as you guys remember, I've mentioned this before, too many people don't look at offensive line the right way. They don't look at the offensive line as different. And we've talked about this before. If you're a quarterback in the pocket, when your tackles collapse and your edge rushers come in, it's a different kind of pressure. It comes from your sides, it comes from your back, it comes from the edges and behind you. You have to sense it. It's more of an awareness. When we've talked about this, when the interior of your offensive line collapses, it's suffocating. Those men are 6'4", 6'5", and 6'6". When the interior offensive line collapses, you can't see anything. So it's really, and it's suffocating as these big men come right into you. You can't escape that. You can't see anything. As you guys remember, my comparison was if the interior offensive line keeps collapsing, the way you have to look at your quarterback is, okay, hold your breath, close your eyes, and then throw the ball. Like that's basically what you're saying when the interior of the offensive line collapses. Hold your breath, close your eyes, you can't see anything, and then throw it. That's what it's like. So it's so important. And we look at the Chiefs right now. They took Creed Humphrey, paired him with Joe Thuney. Let's get our Tyler Linderbaum and pair him with AVT. Have that. And those guys, Thuney's older. Those are two young guys. That would be staples. And Mekhi truly comes back healthy. Those are three young staples right in a row in that offensive line. It's beautiful. It's a thing of poetry, and it makes the offensive line that much better. And if, as we talk about, pass protection is so important, it is so important. It doesn't, again, I feel like Linderbaum is an excellent pick. And I do, again, want to come back to this. I do want to come back to, it would be new. It would be a precedent that I'm not against trading back. If Joe Douglas thinks he can do it, if Joe Douglas thinks he can trade back, I don't know. And I'll give you guys examples. I said I was going to bring up some mocks. I got Daniel Jeremiah's mocks right up here. So he had Evan Neal going first, which is interesting. Hutchinson going second. So Hutchinson going above Thibault, which is not a crazy pick because I thought that myself. I mentioned that with you guys on Twitter. I thought, I don't get why everyone, I get why, people like Thibault, but Hutchinson, really, you can make that argument for him being the better edge rusher potential. He doesn't have Linderbaum going until 29. To the Bengals, but he literally starts it with how high do you take a center? And I think that's the point. That's the whole point of this conversation. That's the whole point of what we're talking about. It's like people are like, it's like, you can't do this because it's not the norm. You can't do it because it's unprecedented. Well, everything has to start somewhere. Everything has to have a beginning. For things to change, there has to be a first. There has to be someone to go, holy shit, look what he did. And then everyone starts doing it. So I would not put it past Joe Douglas, where again, if he looks at Linderbaum like we're saying, where forget he's a center, forget this stupid stigma, just like a guard, he's at that level of Nelson. If you think he's going to go at 11 or 12, you take him at 10. I'm cool with that. And that's the whole point here, that, again, a trade back would be great, but taking Linderbaum at 10 is not crazy. It is not crazy for these reasons. And I feel, again, this is flawed logic, like we just talked about. You got two guys literally comparing Linderbaum and Nelson. Nelson could be a 6th overall pick, but because one's a center and not a guard, doesn't make sense. And again, like we said, it's a new precedent, but it has to start somewhere. So any other example I give is, let's be honest, some people say I wouldn't do it anyway. I think you're crazy. If you're telling me right now you wouldn't take Creed Humphrey at like 11 or 10 or 15, knowing that he would become, just knowing for a fact that he would become the best center in the league basically within a year, how do you not do that? Like, how do you not do that? So many players are whiffs in the first round. So many players are guys you don't expect or you don't think, aren't going to make it. It's just crazy to me. But I appreciate all your guys' comments. You guys there. I want to come back. I want to bring you guys in before, I got one last point I want to bring up to you guys, but appreciate all you guys here. Got Matthias saying, hey, brother, let's go Jets. Appreciate you, brother. Let's go Jets too. Tom saying, what's up, Harrison? Hope all's well. Question is, do we need to draft a center at 10 with all the other holes? I'm going to get to that. And I think you guys are going to appreciate it. I'm going to come at it from a different perspective. So you know what? Let's pivot, Tom. Appreciate all you guys. Keep bringing the comments. Keep bringing it. But Tom brings up, do we really need a center? And that brings me to my last point, which is a different narrative on Conor McGovern. And here's why I say a different narrative. This is the narrative you guys are familiar with. You've heard this one. Well, he played quality football in Denver when he was in that, wide zone scheme. And when he came to the Jets, he wasn't good with Adam Gase, and he wasn't in the right system, and now he is, and look, he's good. That's one narrative. That's the narrative you've heard. But I have a different narrative for you. Conor McGovern, I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to bring up the whole thing. Conor McGovern has been in the league, I believe, I'm going to say, he was drafted in 2016. So McGovern's been in the league 5 years now. So if we look at McGovern's 5-year career, we go back to 2017. He didn't play a lot. He had a rating of 48.9. Next year, 60.2. Following year, jumped to 72. Last year, dropped down to 62.2. This year, back up to 75.9. So you guys know I'm not a huge PFF guy, but my point I'm trying to make here, the one narrative you've heard is that narrative, right? Well, he was good in a wide zone scheme. He struggled a little bit in Denver when they played him at guard, better at center. Now he was with the Jets. Adam Gase didn't work, wasn't in the right system. Here's a different narrative. Over his 5 years, he was bad. He was okay. He was bad again. He was good. He was okay. He was bad again. He's been inconsistent. He's been all over the place. And you guys remember my take. Pardon me, but we come from a history of Jim Sweeney, of freaking Fields, of Nick Mangold, of Kevin Mawai. You guys there have to appreciate that. We have years and decades of amazing centers. Pardon me, but I want more for my center. Yes, he had a good year this year. Does that mean he's going to have a good one next year? Does that mean he's not going to drop back down and have another mediocre year or a bad year? And we're going to go, oh, we screwed up again. We didn't take the guy. We didn't take Creed last year. We got AVT. We got Elijah Moore. That worked out. That was a great draft. We have to do it right this time now. And again, so we got AVT, one staple. We got Elijah Moore, a weapon. Now we need to keep solidifying that offensive line and that narrative, like we just said on McGovern. Yeah, people have that story. Yeah, he was good. It was this. You can make any excuse you want. But what it comes down to is he was bad, then he was good, then he was okay, then he was bad, then he was good again, then he was okay. He's been all over the place. So I want more. We saw Creed Humphrey in less than a year, became one of the best centers in the NFL, literally in the NFL. We need Tyler Linderbaum. Again, look at the videos I put up on Twitter. Look at everything I'm going to keep finding more stuff. I'm going to keep putting it up. Look at what I put up so far. This man dominates gigantic men. Again, my quote, my take, and I'll bring it up again. I have not seen a man who dominates and puts down gigantic men like Tyler Linderbaum since Quentin Nelson. He is a beast. He is a monster. He is a force to reckon with. When he hits an offensive lineman, it's like the equivalent of any other offensive lineman hitting a linebacker. It is just ridiculousness. You want him there. Now, McGovern, John points out, do we re-up McGovern at $9.5 million? that's kind of, and I'm going to bring up the contract. That's the other beauty of it. You have the option. So I'm going to bring it up right now to show you guys. Give me 1 second. It's loading right now. Appreciate the question, my man, because that's actually something I was going to bring up. Seems like my internet wants to be slow. Here we go, and we're up. So Conor McGovern in 2022, and if you remember, Joe did this on purpose. Joe's smart. Oh, wait, sorry. It wasn't Joe Douglas. I apologize. Oh, wait, actually, no, it was. I'm sorry, don't mind me. So 2022. So in 2022, he has 10.3 million against the cap, but he's only dead 1.3 million. So like he pointed out, like John's pointing out right here, do we end up re-upping him at 9.5 mil? That's how much you could save. So we can negotiate right here. We could renegotiate. You tell Conor, okay, you're only getting 1.3. Like if we cut you, you only walk away with 1.3. So maybe instead of him having, I don't know, let's say, what is it? Excuse me, 10.3 is a cap hit and 1.3 dead. Maybe we give him 5 or 6 million all guaranteed, and that's the whole cap hit. So you cut the cap hit in half, but you've more than doubled the amount of money he's guaranteed. That's Joe Douglas logic. That's smart. I could totally see Joe doing that. Totally see him doing that. And if he does that, you drafted Tyler Linderbaum. He's your center. Now McGovern is guard. I really want to bring LDT back, but you guys saw LDT said, well, he actually, considering how bad the pandemic's been, he's actually thought about retiring and going to be a doctor full time. I'm not going to comment on, if that's what he wants, so be it. That's good for him. He's doing an amazing thing. I love the guy. I think he's an amazing offensive lineman. I think he would kick McGovern's butt in a competition, if I'm being honest. So if LDT does come back, let's say he decides, hey, I want to run it another year or two. Then we got an open competition at right guard between LDT and Conor McGovern. And I'll be honest, my take is I think LDT wins. I think LDT wins that competition. I do. I think he's going to beat him out. But and say LDT does say, hey, I'm ready to hang it up. I want to go, be a doctor. That's awesome. You go be you, my man. McGovern can play guard. Maybe you draft another offensive lineman too later on, but McGovern can play guard. People said he wasn't as good as center as guard. If you can't play good at guard, you can't play good at center. It doesn't work like that. That's why I love when people are like, oh, he was bad at guard. No, he's just inconsistent. That's just what we've seen. He's had good seasons and bad seasons and mediocre seasons. So theoretically, he could have a good season at guard, but we need to make this decision. That is my opinion. But again, the big take on this episode, and I appreciate all you guys' comments. I feel like I've shown it again that it's not the norm. It's not the norm. It's atypical, but I guess, my God, why? That's my question here. My God, why? Why are we taking offensive guards at 6 and 7 and 8 and 10, but a center? Ew, no, we can't. Yet he's more physically dominating than some of the guards taken that high. It just doesn't make sense. Like I said, we could say, oh, Linderbaum's going to play guard. Then people are going to go look at him physically dominate people and be like, oh, let's take him at 8. Let's trade up. So it's not crazy. And again, if we knew, maybe Joe's the guy to set it. Joe's an offensive line guy. We talked about the evolution of the league. Someone's got to say it. Someone's finally got to say, well, the center position is just as important. In fact, it's one of the most important positions on the offensive line, and it should be valued. So I appreciate all you guys' comments. John mentions if we do re-sign him, to solid, do you plan on moving him the right guard? That would be like we were just talking about, man. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. Kevin's here. What's up, Kevin? Hey, guys. Appreciate you. Perhaps because the high picks were Kevin point out, shout out to Kev. Kev says perhaps because the highest picks belong to the worst teams looking for QBs. It's true, man. It's true. And I've mentioned this before. I was gonna bring this up, next week. We were gonna talk more about the edge rushers. Spoiler alert. But I mentioned it on Twitter. Someone could trade up for a QB. Granted, there's no, consensus top quarterback guy that everyone wants at 1 or 2 or 3 or even in the top 5, arguably. But it doesn't matter. So it doesn't mean someone's not going to do it. Then this NFL, we just talked about it, the evolution of the league. The quarterback is everything. The quarterback is literally your team, basically. He's the most important piece. So some guys, if some team thinks that's my guy, they may mortgage a little bit of their future to go up and get him. And even if not so, we talked about Evan Neal going really high. Kyle Hamilton could go high. There's a couple of other guys you can throw up there. I honestly do think Thibault or Hutchinson could fall to us. I honestly do think there's a good chance that one of those two guys could fall to 4. We get him, then man, if we get Linderbaum at 10, okay, I'm cool with a trade back. But if we get Linderbaum at 10, oh, that's it. That's it. My heart stopped. I'm done. The draft is won. It's over. Joe gets an award. Everything else is just gravy at that point. Rusty, shout out to Rusty, says, Patterson went back to school, but Linderbaum is good. Linderbaum's amazing, man. Linderbaum is just a beast. Again, I don't see those cerebral traits, but Zach Wilson has them in spades. He doesn't seem to be the kind of guy that needs that because Conor McGovern isn't it. Conor McGovern's definitely not that, so he doesn't seem to be a guy that needs that. It's nice to have. Like I mentioned, I think it was last week or the week before. If you ask Patrick Mahomes, I bet this year he'll say it's nice to have a guy like Creed Humphrey to be like, hey, bro, look at number 52. He's pushing a guy or something, just something. But something. But Anthony points out, yeah, man, Linderbaum is just incredible. This dude is just a beast. So like we pointed out, if he was an offensive guard, there wouldn't even be an argument. And as you guys remember, I'd said, I'd love to trade back and get him. But a lot of people, I saw Giant fans are like, we want him. Raven, everybody wants this kid. You might need to take him at 10. You might need to pull the trigger, take him at 10, and I am 100% cool with that. And I feel like, again, all the logic in this episode showed that, yes, it's a new precedent. Yes, it's not something that has been done before, but it is by no means crazy, and it is by no means a bad decision. Oh, bro, whole new O-line. Yeah, man. Like, I've been saying it. Like, I'm imagining, like, and people are crapping on Mekhi Becton. Like, guys, Mekhi Becton in his rookie season was basically a borderline Pro Bowler. Like, he was awesome in his rookie season. He slimmed down. He's gotten healthier. We talked about this. The knee injury, the knee surgery was 100% successful, went well, no issues, no setbacks. Just big dude takes longer to heal. It sucks. But they've said if he had to, he could have played at the end of the season, but they wanted him to, keep going. Full off season under his belt. Man, let's remember what Mekhi was. Mekhi was a potential Pro Bowler in his rookie year. You got him on the left tackle. You got AVT at the left guard, who AVT looks like another future potential Pro Bowler. We just gushed over Lindenbaum. He's at the center. Either LDT or Conor McGovern are at right guard. That's honestly your weakest link, and it ain't that weak a link on that line. Now at right tackle, you got George Fant, who, yes, played better at left tackle, but I do feel that significant better play this year will have him play better at right tackle next year. I think he will be maybe not as good as he was at left tackle this year, but he will be better at right tackle than he'd been years before. So that's a quality line. That is a really quality offensive line. Rusty points out we need edge badly. This must be. I pointed it out, man. He says Nakobe Dean's a guy that he has in his eyes. Man, I get it. I totally get it. It's true. Edge is a huge thing. And you remember I mentioned that. I'd said, remember when we did, if you guys haven't seen it, I think it was like 3 weeks or a month ago. It was the episode I did where we did the positional analysis. Remember, we went through every single position on the team, and I showed that when everyone's healthy, this is a solid team that has a lot of potential to grow. And one of the biggest needs because of that is edge rusher. I pointed out I didn't think we were as bad as linebackers everybody makes us out to be. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Adding a linebacker would be good, but we added 2 last draft. They really haven't gotten a chance to show yet. Our corners have been great. I mean, honestly, considering the round picks they are and how young they are, you really should use the word great to describe them. They're playing excellently, and the potential is just sky high. Safety's an issue, but you don't go safety high. The edge. Carl lost me back next year, but you guys remember my take. We need and again, I hate to say this. Other people have said this too, and through my analysis, it's a little upsetting to me because this is our year. This is our year we need an edge rusher. This is the year we need one. I hate to say this. Hutchinson might be. I will say this. I could be wrong about Hutchinson. But from what I've seen so far with Hutchinson and Thibault, neither one is like that consensus. Like, you remember what Myles Garrett was, like what Von Miller was, what Khalil Mack was, like that consensus elite guy, like just a physically dominating guy that, okay, he has to be the top guy. I like Thibault. Don't get me wrong. I like Hutchinson more. That's been my take. I like Hutchinson more. But neither one of them remind me of that guy. So I do feel like this draft is missing that elite edge rusher. I do feel like it is. I feel like if you think you're drafting one of these guys and that they're like the net, I thought, and I admit I was wrong. I was hoping because remember, I hadn't jumped into my draft analysis yet. You guys remember from everything I'd seen about the Beau and heard about the Beau and seen him across the board, everyone was basically saying, and I'd say that everyone was saying he was the next Myles Garrett. He's not bad. Don't get me wrong. Him and Hutchinson are not bad, but neither one is a guy that's like coming in where it's like, okay, this guy is going to be unbelievably dominant from day one. Both look very good, but neither one looked truly elite to me. I do, again, feel like this draft class is missing that elite edge rusher, which is a damn shame because we need one. But man, Hutchinson or the Beau could fall, and they have a lot of potential. Yeah, they're not the Von Miller of this draft, but they both are excellently good in different ways. Hutchinson's more of a power guy, and Beau is more of a shifty guy, but they both look very good. So that's definitely what the Jets should do. The Jets, if we're lucky, one of those guys falls to us at 4, and then maybe we get Linderbaum at 10. Maybe they trade back and get Linderbaum, but I really want to see Linderbaum. I wanted to see Humphrey last year. I want to see Linderbaum now. Shout out Ron saying the same thing. Been saying this should be our number one priority too. Love Linderbaum. Got to do it, man. Got to do it. Like we said, we talked about McGovern. Yeah, the narrative's always been, well, he was part of the wide zone scheme. He thrived in Denver. Then he came here. The other side of it, again, is the inconsistency, the roller coaster up and down that is Conor McGovern. I don't want to deal with that anymore. We've talked about this. We talked about this. You guys remember when I talked about Creed, last year's draft class. The center is so important. It's such an important position. It's literally the quarterback of the offensive line. And a guy like Linderbaum that can just physically impose his will, man. Linderbaum, like Humphrey, is going to be one of the best centers in the NFL very quickly. And if you don't think that deserves a top pick, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like we said, if you switched him to guard, all those people would say, yeah, take him that high. That doesn't make sense. Again, it's a new precedent, but I think it's because it doesn't make sense, and someone's eventually going to realize that. Someone's eventually going to realize that, yeah, this guy's a physically dominating, imposing, massive individual that we haven't seen that can dominate people like this since Quentin Nelson, who went 6th overall. The hell cares that he's a center? Who the hell cares? That's the real answer. Jeremy points out, we talked about it earlier, where we have to renegotiate McGovern. It opens that door. We mentioned it before. McGovern has a $10.3 million against the cap. He's only got 1.3 guaranteed, 1.3 dead money. So the Jets can easily renegotiate that. They can easily, the plan I said before, something smart that Joe would do, be like, okay, let's knock that down to like a $5 million fully guaranteed. Now his cap hit is half, but he's making 2 to 3 times guaranteed. That's smart GMing. That's the kind of thing he could do. And that's what I was talking about, Jets getting shouted. The McGovern don't seem like he doesn't. He absolutely doesn't. And you guys remember, that was my thing with Creed. I don't know if Linderbaum does either. It's rare. That's important. You guys remember, excuse me. You guys remember when we talked about Creed Humphrey so much when he was in the draft process, that was my big take about how rare this is. That's why I didn't care how high we took him, because of how rare that trait was. I don't know if Linderbaum's going to do it as well, but let's just be. Linderbaum is going to take the man in front of him and drive him into the earth and make his ancestors feel the hits. So, yeah, he may not call out the protections, but he's going to block a shit ton better than McGovern. He's definitely going to block a lot better. Maybe he'll call up the protections. From what I see, I don't see much on it. It's rare. Again, like I said, there's a handful of guys, like 4 or 5 guys tops in the NFL that have that ability. That's what made Creed special. It really was. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate the comments. Jets Game Pointer is the best center in the draft. Man, I even pointed out, and you guys can check it. I argued with people saying that Creed Humphrey, I thought, would be better than AVT. He wound up being better than AVT. People thought I was crazy. I was saying Creed Humphrey's better than AVT, and everyone's like, you're insane. You guys remember it. I'd said that, and everyone told me I'm out of my mind. It's because of this stigma with the centers, and that's what we need to change. That's the whole point of this episode. This stigma is crazy. Just because there's a C instead of a G They should go 10 picks less. Doesn't matter how good they are. Doesn't matter how physically imposing they are. They should go 10 picks lower. It's crazy. I think it's going to change. Joe could be the one to change it. And just another best example too would be, think of it this way, guys. What if you think he's going to be available later on? You trade back and he goes 11. He goes 12. He goes 13, like AVT did 13. You miss out on him. Do you want to risk that? And that's why I always say don't get cute. Don't get cute. If just like with quarterbacks, like I think it was I apologize, forgot who pointed it out. Someone pointed out, shout out to Kevin. Kevin shouted out, looking for quarterbacks. If someone believes in a guy, you don't get cute. That's the point. If you believe Matt Corral is your quarterback, maybe you trade the farm with the Jaguars to trade up to 1 to get him. You know why? Because you believe in him, because that's your guy. So I never understood that logic. If you truly believe Linderbaum's the guy, if you think you can trade back, I'm not going to argue. But again, if you can get him at 10, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. It's not crazy. And like we just showed, this stigma needs to change. It's a new precedent that I think is eventually going to happen. So appreciate all you guys. Appreciate all you guys being here. Appreciate all the comments. Jeremy points out Hamilton. Hamilton is pretty much a lock to be special. Bro, Hamilton's one of the reasons. And Daniel Jeremiah, I love it. He confirmed it for me. Like literally before Jeremiah's draft, I'm like, yo, Thibault or Hutchinson could fall because of guys like Hamilton. And what does Daniel Jeremiah do? In his draft, he's got Neal at 1, which again, the offensive tackle, he can go 1. But you got Hutchinson at 2, which is understandable. Then Hamilton at 3, so the Jets get the bow at 4. Man, that can happen. Think of it. If Evan Neal and Kyle Hamilton go in the first 4 picks, then it's a lock for the Jets to get one of those edge rushers. That's honestly what that means. If Jeremiah is right, and I think he's right about Hamilton, I definitely think someone could take Hamilton at 2 or 3. Shit, maybe even Jaguars decide to surprise everybody. You guys remember, I don't want to go safety high, but I compared Hamilton to Trayvon Moehrig. He's an unbelievably special coverage guy that can do it all as a safety. You don't know. But the point is, one of those guys could be the reason Thibault falls, could be the reason Hutchinson falls. And if either one of them falls to 4 and Joe scoops them up, and then we either get Linderbaum at 10, or I don't even want to give myself a heart attack. Imagine trading back, still getting Linderbaum and more picks. It's over. It's over. I'm happy. We won. Jump for joy. Parade time. Love it, man. So it's possible. We could definitely get one of those edge rushers. We can definitely. Point out Love Dean. That's a good guy too, man. I know. There's a lot of good guys in these shows. He's another reason Jet Game points out about Sauce Gardner. I mean, a lot of people, and again, it's interesting. Some people have Sauce, going a little lower. I don't think how Sauce Gardner could possibly go before Stingley, but I mean, I guess we'll see, right? Everyone says stuff every year, and we always say we'll see. So we'll see, right? Rusty makes a good point. He points out McCreary shut down the SEC. That includes Burke and Miss Obama. I really hope we land McCreary at CB, Kolar at tight end. Man, I don't know if you remember, Rusty. If you go back and check it out. Last year at this time, if you guys remember, I think it was either now or March, and a lot of my mocks, I had Charlie Kolar. I kept talking about Charlie Kolar, if you guys remember, and saying how much I liked that kid at tight end, that he was a later round pick that had a lot of potential. I really liked that kid. So, man, Charlie Kolar, excellent pick, bro. I would, if we could, and you guys remember I pointed out last year. You guys remember I pointed it out last week, how everyone was talking about Dalton Schultz, who again, I don't not like Dalton Schultz. I think he would be a great addition, but I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Gesicki. You guys remember my big take is, well, Dalton Schultz obviously is the better blocker. Without a question, Schultz is the better blocker, but he also has only 1 year of solid production. Gesicki's been one of the best receiving tight ends in the NFL since he came into the NFL. And the most important thing for Zach, we have blockers. We get offensive linemen. People can block. You can get a guy like Wesco to line up and block. You need receiving options, talented receiving options. So again, Schultz is not a bad option. He had a really good year, but it was 1 year. Do keep that in mind. He had one really good year, but he is a very good blocker. Gesicki, on the other hand, has been one of the better receiving tight ends in the NFL every year since he's been in the NFL. So I'll be honest, I do like Gesicki a bit more. I would personally like to see the Jets sign Gesicki, who was a Dolphin, which means he has familiarity with the AFC East, and he's going to want to make teams like the Dolphins pay. you can't argue that fact either. But you draft a tight end too. You get a guy like Gesicki, draft a tight end like Kohler. Man, that's some stuff. That's some stuff right there. Like shout out to Mo. Mo points out Linderbaum's an instant starter. He'll adjust and excel just like ABT. Man, I'll go as far to say Linderbaum I think will adjust faster than ABT. I would go that far. I would go as far to say I think Linderbaum will adjust faster. This man is just so physically imposing, like Quentin Nelson on day one. He's just going to dominate people. He's just going to physically overpower people, which is all you want from a center. If your center can physically take the men in front of him and put them into the earth, what more do you want from your center? Like, that is awesome. Sign me up every day. Tom points out, Hamilton's a beast. I can't take him in front. I'm just Jamal Adams kind of ruined me for safeties, but also safety's not a premium pick to me, in my opinion. Not only is it not a premium position, I think our corners are slept on. I talked about that. I feel like Bryce Hall at CB1, Brandon Echols at CB2, Michael Carter the second, even got Javelin Guidry in there. Our corners are slept on. I don't think we need that game-changing safety necessarily. We need that game-changing edge rusher. Him with Carl Lawson back next year, two of them just wreaking havoc, that's going to make it easier for our linebackers. That's going to make it easier for our corners. You guys remember, we talked about it last year. Robert Saleh's defense is entirely predicated on getting to the quarterback, which we did not do consistently this year. Hence, we had one of the worst defenses in the NFL. This isn't rocket science. You want to make a Robert Saleh defensive good, get to the quarterback. So we need that elite edge rusher. We need that guy. And again, Thibault or Hutchinson could fall to 4. Definitely think that's possible. I love it, Frank. I love that you brought him up, man. Same thing. If you guys want, check it out. Last year, because again, he was projected to potentially go last year until he decided to return to college. Check it out. I had Alec Lindstrom as like a 5th, 6th round pick. Love that kid out of BC. Let's not forget his brother's awesome. His brother is awesome in the NFL. He is totally slept on. Don't get me wrong. I like Linderbaum. I mean, I really want Linderbaum, but I am a big Alec Lindstrom fan. His brother, again, is a beast, was a 1st-round pick. He is massively, massively slept on. I don't know. I know last year he was projected to be about a 5th, 6th rounder. I'm not sure where he's projected this year, but I had him last year as a late-round center. I like the kid. So don't get me wrong. I like Linderbaum, but hey, you could take Alec Lindstrom, maybe see if he's ready to play right guard. Dude, it's pretty physical. Maybe he could play right guard, battle out with MCG, take him in a later round. I'm cool with that. Sounds good to me. But yeah, I see all your guys' comments. I appreciate all you guys. Jeremy points out Jeremy Ruckert. Man, those are my 2 guys. Feel free to check it, guys. Last year, my 2 tight ends that I wouldn't stop saying I wanted in later rounds were Charlie Kohler and Jeremy Ruckert. Those are my 2 guys. And let's not forget, I'm pretty confident Ruckert's a local guy. If I remember correct, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Jeremy Ruckert is from Lindenhurst. Jeremy Ruckert is from Lindenhurst. He's a local Long Island boy. Man, get him in. Get him in. So those are 2 tight ends that I really, really liked last year that wound up returning. Charlie Kohler, Jeremy Ruckert. Love those guys. Those are 2 tight ends that get, I need more thumbs, 4 thumbs up from me. Sign Mike Gesicki because, again, I like the receiving option. That's just me. Yes, Schultz is the better blocker, but Gesicki has not even arguably. He has been one of the best receiving tight ends since being in the league. I want that. I like that. If we got Schultz, I wouldn't be upset. I would not be upset. But for the record, I think Gesicki might be a better receiving option for Zach Wilson. So that's my big take on it, guys. That's my feeling with the whole center position. I just feel like, again, it literally just comes back to this. This is it. This is the whole point. This is the message. We've been saying, this is it. So I appreciate all you guys being here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking part in the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. You guys know I'm here every Monday at 7 p.m. Love talking to you guys about them Jets. Love you guys in the comment. Appreciate all you guys, literally all you guys out there. Appreciate the comments. Love going back and forth with you, talking about all this stuff. Thank you guys for being here. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy the playoffs over this weekend. And remember, our time is coming. Our time is coming, and it's going to be coming soon.